Hey everybody, welcome back to the Combat Chain. I am your host, Patrick, pack fresh, so I must be a 10 Shaw. And with me as always is my co-host, Adam. Even my Quicken tokens are slabbed, Philip Chuck. Adam, how are we doing today?
Hey Pat, we're doing good. Glad to be here. Excited to have Matt Rogers on the episode today.
So excited! This is like a fanboy moment. I thought I'd fanboy with Brendan Patrick on, but felt like that was less celebrity. Now we got the guy from Flesh and Blood for the last however long it's been out, 3 years now. So it's gonna be quite good. How's your week been so far in playing cards? I haven't touched cards. Like, I have my cards next to me that I touch, but I've been taking this break from actually playing so seriously that now I've got like the itch, and now I'm like, I wonder if the cards think about me when I'm not near them. So can you tell me some experience you've had this week about touching actual cards and playing some games?
I'm in the same boat as you, Pat. I've had some life stuff come up recently, and that's kind of that's been taking precedence. So I think I haven't been to like a game night or an armory in like over a week now.
It's like have you been on Talishar?
I haven't even fired up Talishar, man.
Oh man, I played a couple games on Talishar, but it's really like, it kind of starts to desensitize you. This is why I didn't like Magic Online and why I'm like not a big arena guy, because it feels the same. If you get oversaturated with it, it becomes like less special in a way. You know what I mean? In a sense.
Yeah, I can say there's an armory tomorrow night marked on my calendar, and I'm after how everything's been going lately, that's a must attend. So I'm getting at least looking forward to a good dose of flicking cards here in the near future.
I also am. I have a armory on Sunday that I have not been to. US Nats was it. So I've been cold turkey on playing any kind of cards since US Nats. And so Sunday, also because of some life stuff that got in the way, I intended on going on regular Sundays, but just haven't been able to. And now I'll be able to get in there. So before we get into that stuff, I do have one little shout out to give. It is a hashtag FabDad story. We have some FabDads that listen. If you want to, there's I'll post it on the Combat Chain Twitter, but we have a FabDads Discord for all you FabDads out there. But my little guy, 4 years old, broke his ankle just about a month ago. So they call it a toddler fracture. So I guess the bone doesn't like literally break, but the growth plates move, right? Turns out they make the tiniest little walking boots for 4-year-olds. It is the most adorable thing, but it has driven him just crazy to be in it. And he went to the doctor today and got it taken off. So shout out to my little guy, Peach, for getting his boot off and having his ankle A-okay. So
that's good to hear.
Good for you, Peach. All right. Now, today's guest has been the face of Flesh and Blood for years now. He is the 2020 and 2022 New Zealand National Champion and the 2021 Calling Auckland Champion. He is a founding member of the Team Dragon Shield, and late last year entered the fray of graded collectible cards, opening Premier Card Grading. He is Matt Rogers. Matt, thank you for joining us today on the Combat Chain.
Thanks, mate. Thanks so much for inviting me on. It's it's going to be a lot of fun to be here.
Yeah, we are so happy to be to have you on. This is a really special kind of milestone moment for us. That being said, no one escapes the origin story. So, who are you, and how the hell did you get here?
My origin story for Flesh and Blood. Okay, I used to play Magic the Gathering. I've played card games for a long time. I played Magic with James White and Chris Gearing and Jason Chung, a lot of the developers and the founder of Flesh and Blood for years and years and years. And then I started up a card store, which became a franchise eventually, yeah, basically, I'd kind of gotten a bit over Magic. I'd quit Magic. I'd stopped going to bigger events. I'd fallen off the Pro Tour, I'd kind of given up on going super competitive with card games from New Zealand. It was quite hard. James had let me know years and years beforehand that he was designing a competitive card game, a classic card game. I sort of was like, oh yeah, I'm interested to maybe come and test a draft or something like that at some point, but kind of never got around to it. I was pretty busy and kind of just shook that one off. And then after I quit Magic, he announced that he was going to launch, or maybe a year or so after I quit Magic, he announced that he was going to launch it in New Zealand. I had a look at it and I was like, oh wow, the art's quite good, the themes are good, the classic, like this actually looks really good, and it looks like the way that he's developed and designed this game with the pitch and blocking and combat and everything like that is just really appealed to me. It seemed like there was going to be a lot more decision points. It seemed like the games were going to be a bit more interesting, and there was just a lot more options to it. So I was like, oh, you know what, I'll give it a go. I called up James and I was like, look, I'm going to come to your premiere. I'm going to give this a go. We'll see if I like your game or not. Turned up, met up with some old friends. Alan Hale sat me down and taught me how to play the game. And then I ended up playing that night for hours and hours and hours with Cale McCreef. I think we played a full 50 game set, like 50 games.
It's a lot in one sitting. Was he on Bravo then?
No, so this was the Ira deck. So Welcome Raid hadn't come out yet. So was this was the night before the world premiere. So this was the absolute only Ira existed. Nobody knew about Rafe. There was this announcement that the first set would be called Welcome to Rafe, but we didn't know anything else. So it was literally the Ira learn to play decks, and we played 50 games of that. And then we played the world premiere the day after, which was like a Ira challenge event. Everybody played with an Ira deck. There was a Swiss in top 8. I lost in the top 4. I had one of the best times I've had in card games. I played a lot of card games over the years, and even just the Ira, decks where you didn't have equipment and it was everything like that. It felt so perfect. It was such a nice, well-designed game that I was like, yeah, I'll keep giving this a go until I get bored of it. 3 years later, more than 3 years since then, I'm still not bored of it.
Amen to that. Adam, I know you have a special place in your heart for the Ira Welcome deck as well.
Welcome deck is I think probably my favorite format of this game.
Right, the purest form of Flesh and Blood. All right, let's get right into it. You have been the consensus best in the world in this game for years now, uncontested until 2022. The rise of Michael Hamilton and Pablo Pintor made writing you off as a member of the old guard a popular, if not incredible, dangerous thing to do. Perhaps even this podcast a little guilty of neglecting to add you onto certain polls about the best players in the world. Was winning this year's New Zealand National Championship a strong enough reminder of everyone that you are still at the top of the game?
I don't really want to get too much into the best player in the world conversation and stuff. I think
you can say it. It's okay.
That conversation's cringe. But I do think it's fair enough to put me as one of the contenders of one of the best players out there. And I do think that winning nationals this year, top 8 in a recent call-in and everything, and the call-ins in the States and all of the rest of that just does show that I have been consistent over the 3 years. It wasn't just Matt won a bit at the start in year one. It has been, I won nationals year one, I came second in nationals year two, and then I won nationals again year three. And then I top eighted, I don't know, 6 or so call-ins in between then, and got, top 16 Pro Tour, etc. So I have remained consistent enough to kind of stay in the conversation, I think.
Now, if I have it right, out of 15 eligible events, you have obtained 12 PTIs from that. Is that correct?
Yeah. So I do think I have the record for the most PTIs earned in the world, by quite a bit. Obviously because I was playing from day one. But yeah, all of the the nationals where top 8 gets a PTI, the call-ins where top 8 gets a PTI, PTI events where first and second gets it, and Pro Tours, etc. All of those, add them all together, go through my full history, and it's 12 out of 15. So I think consistency is kind of what I've strived for. I don't win every event, but I'm usually up near the top tables.
You got into this game so early and became so good for so long before the organized play structure had a chance to form. Now it's time for LSS to crown its first world champion. Are you coming into Worlds with something to prove?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, the something to prove thing, again, I try to not put too much pressure on my shoulders in that way. Like I do honestly play this game for fun. I am a very competitive person at heart, but I love to win. Who doesn't? But the friendships, the team play, the travel, the just incredible games and stuff. That's what I get out of this. I'm not too focused. Like, obviously I want to be the first world champion. I've wanted that the whole time, and I love to win these events, but I don't want to put too much pressure on myself that it's win or nothing, that I have to prove myself to other people, that everything like that. I think I've proven to myself that if I put effort in, and if I really want to do well in a tournament, I can. I think that's enough for me.
Now, as one of the most recognizable names in the competitive scene, do you find it a bit? Do you find that your opponents really go after you, kind of like you're their Super Bowl kind of moment when you're paired up against somebody in a calling or a pro tour, or do you find that is more they get kind of more shell shocked than anything else?
I think it's definitely a mix. I think there's definitely both extremes and things in the middle. Like, there are some people that sit down and they're like, I've been waiting for this moment. I'm gonna crush you into the ground and then tell everyone, and it's gonna be all anybody's ever gonna be talking about forever, and all of this sort of stuff. And then there's other people that sit down and they're like, why did I have to get paired against you? So and there's everything in the middle as well. And I think that's fun. Like, if I'm honest, I enjoy that side of the attention a little bit. Like, I enjoy kind of being a challenge for people. I enjoy that it gets people more excited for a game for whatever reason. And I think better games come of that.
Team Dragon Shield accomplished the incredible feat of sweeping their nationals this year. Patel took Canada, Butcher took Australia, and you took New Zealand, before adding the silent assassin, Isaac Crute, into the fold. This team may be one of the more formidable forces in Flesh and Blood today. How has joining this team changed your approach to prep and playing the game?
Yeah, I think the team play has been incredible. Our whole everything through nationals season was to a new level of anything that I've done in card games. I think the fact how much we lean and rely on each other and like give to each other has actually just been such a magical experience. Like, the fact that we are all playing, when Nick's nationals came up first, we, all three of us were absolutely dedicated to helping Nick to win that nationals. When Tarek's came up, it was the same thing, and when mine came up, it was the same thing. I'm talking because we're in different time zones. Teammates that are getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, to run through some stuff, that are staying up until late hours of the night, that are answering phone calls at 5 and 6 in the morning and stuff. Their time, to help each other, and that happened at the nationals and at things, and it was just an absolute selfless dedication from all three of us to each of the other two people in the team for each event, and I felt like we really approached it as a group. And as a team, and I felt like everybody that wanted to take a trophy off us, they effectively had to get through all three of us at each of the nationals. I think that really came together so well. And watch out for Worlds, because we're doing it again. We're doing it again now. We're doing that prep again, and we're doing that focus and that dedication to each other and stuff again. So and I'm loving it. I think it's a magical thing to be a part of.
That does lead me into my next question. How is Worlds prep going? You don't have to spill any of the secret sauce unless you want to, but you obviously are feeling ready to go as the hour draws near here.
Yeah, it's going really well. We're all playing. Yeah. I'm gonna give you that. The World's Prep has been a lot of fun. We've been putting, just playing a bit on Talishar, but most importantly, just constantly talking, like every night, every morning. I think the first thing most of us do when we get up in the morning is talk about some thoughts of a deck, and one of the last things before we go to sleep is be talking to each other about thoughts of a deck, strategy in a matchup, all of that sort of stuff as well. So unfortunately I've been crazy busy, so I haven't had as much time to play as the others, but yeah, Tarek and Nick and Isaac are putting in serious work, which has been really cool. But I have been there every night and every morning to talk through the strategies and the decks and the ideas and stuff, and I can't wait. I fly out just in a couple of days to go meet them for the Team Dragon Shield house. We've got a massive kind of mansion or whatever, some huge Team Dragon Shield 11 bed crazy Airbnb thing over there that we're all meeting at with Saint, and a few others of our friends that have been invited along as well. And there's going to be a bunch of us, and it's going to be an awesome process, kind of putting all of these ideas and strategies that we've come to in the last few weeks and mashing it all together and finalizing it.
Given your international scope here, would you say communication is kind of the strength of Team Dragon Shield right now?
Yeah, definitely. I think our friendship and how we work together is definitely our strength. The fact that we are in constant communication about things, the fact that we all live and breathe the strategy of this game. We all just love discussing and breaking and finding and tweaking, the strategies for every different matchup and everything like that. And it's really, we're all just so excited for the game, and we're all just so excited for good games. I think that combination with 4 people that are that dedicated to the game, and that dedicated to finding everything and the strategies and winning or whatever, it's a formula for success for sure.
Are you when it was debuted, there was a lot of media presence from the LSS, the tournament organizers. They made a big kind of spectacle of Team Dragon Shield coming out, and it seemed like there's a lot of video cameras, there's a lot of that kind of footage being made during this. Are you under any media obligation for this test week in the Dragon Shield house?
Yeah, we are. So, yeah, obviously, part of this team and part of everything is getting the name Dragon Shield out there. Obviously, it's a household name, but just doing things for that as well. So we are doing some recording over there, some interviews, some stuff like that. There are camera guys being sent over to the house and stuff. So yeah, we're more than happy to do that. From our point of view, we love this game and we love Dragon Shield. We're representing a brand that we absolutely love. Like, I really do love the company behind Dragon Shield and all the people and how they approach everything. And it's the same for LSS. So anything that we can do to help those brands and stuff, it's just good for everybody.
Absolutely. Adam, is your mansion in San Jose ready for Worlds?
Unfortunately not. Yeah, like I was saying earlier in the pod, my World's prep is unfortunately not up to snuff right now. Some life stuff is kind of taking precedence. So we're reevaluating our mindset going into Worlds, I think, and we're just acknowledging that this is going to be a cool experience, a good learning experience, and we're going in with no real expectations or anything. And I think that's kind of the healthy approach and healthy realization for me going into this Worlds, just given my situation and life circumstances right now.
You do. Just so sometimes you need a reminder, and the world knows, you have progressively improved throughout your competitive career, ending in Canadian Nationals was 10th, I believe.
11th, yeah.
11th Canadian Nationals, probably one of the toughest nationals in the world. So
Definitely.
we're looking, so it's nothing to sneeze at. Are you working with Nathan Fortin and crew?
No, and that's kind of the thing, is the all, unfortunately, out of that whole crew, the guys that I worked with for Pro Tours and for Nationals, none of them qualified for Worlds. So they've all decided to kind of take a step back and take a breather before the next competitive season starts up, and I totally respect that.
Oh man, I am such a dick. I just took off from US after US Nets.
No, hey, it's totally fine.
We'll get you ready. All I need is 3 days and some gauntlet decks. We'll do this.
You know what though? But I think part of the takeaway here is that like mental health is important too, and managing, like there's a lot of different ways we can take care of our mental health. For me right now, going into Worlds and acknowledging that, hey, I'm not playing my best flesh and blood right now, but just wanting to go for that experience, and just being open with myself that, hey, that this is just going to be a cool opportunity, and not go in with like any kind of results based mindset. I think is, because first and foremost, it's about, even like Matt's kind of said already in this episode, it's about having fun and enjoying the game first and foremost. And these past couple days, I've been kind of just coming to terms with that, and I think through that, I'm going to, regardless of what my World's prep looks like, I'm just going to have a really cool experience, and that's the important thing.
Awesome. And it's a once in a lifetime kind of gig.
Exactly.
I did. We Brendan Patrick came on last week and had a lot to say about self-care, mental health, and the fact that we got into physical fitness. Obviously, he's jacked to shit. He's just ripped shreds. Can't help it, but he said he does it because it makes him happy, right? And that's the big thing. It's his mental health thing. So that actually hit me. Right. During that interview, I told him, I was like, well, I know what that feels like. So in terms of self-care and mental health, you're talking about getting aware there. That actually inspired me to get back onto the Peloton. So I've gotten 3 bike rides in this week on the Peloton for the first time.
Hey, one step at a time, man. You got to start somewhere.
Oh yeah, yes. So it's a real issue, right? It's a real thing. that especially competitive players in this game need to confront more often than not. So all the power to everybody, including you.
Yeah.
But definitely. Oh yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, no, I definitely want to add that, like, that is something that, we all should be talking about a little bit more. And I don't want to harp on in the same sort of way that Brendan Patrick said, but, for me, I've experienced it as well. I've experienced complete burnout in Magic. I quit Magic for that reason. I quit playing competitive card games because it got to the point where, there was such expectation, and, winning was so important that, like, I just wasn't having as much fun. So when I got back into Flesh and Blood, I was like, look, I am really competitive and I do really like to win, but winning can't be what I'm playing this game for. Like, it's not going to work. It's impossible in a variance game, no matter how hard you work. It's impossible to just come up at the top constantly. So it's really important to take those expectations off your shoulders and don't let everybody else kind of define that for you as well, and just constantly say, oh well, if you're good you would still be winning, or you would win this event, or you would do well, or whatever. I think it's really important for us as card game players to understand the reason we play cards. And for some people, winning is just the only reason, and that might be fine for them if they're able to make that work in their sort of collective things of what's important to them in life. But for the majority of people, I would say that you really need to get fun and community and stuff way ahead of winning in order to get the most out of card games. And I think that it's really important that we all kind of talk about that and think about that a little bit more often, because generally life's about happiness, right? And it's about being a positive force in the universe and all the rest of it. And this is a hobby for us. So this is we really want to get as much as we can out of it for everybody, I think. And so if you're just focusing on winning and letting everybody put that pressure on you and letting everybody kind of define you by your results, then I think that it is going to be stressful. It is going to be hard. You are going to burn out, and it's not it's not going to be a wholeheartedly positive force in your life.
Well said. That does lead us into our first community question of the week, Adam.
Yeah, and this ties into our first community question quite nicely. I think we've kind of already touched on it a bit, but we'll, the questions we posed, I want to put it out there. This comes from Frank Hung. You guys may know him as the Lazy Dog from Discord. He asks, what's your mindset approaching high stakes events, and how do you view them in hindsight, whether you succeeded at meeting your goals or not? It's clear that you're one of the highest level and better performing players. Do you feel like there are high expectations for you to meet from yourself, from your teammates? How do you deal with all that? And I know you've kind of touched on it already, but is there, I guess, anything to add to what we've touched on so far?
Yeah. So, I mean, people do put a lot of expectation on me at some of these events. Certainly going into these nationals, everybody was like, "Well, your two teammates have won. Are you going to make the clean sweep? Like, you have to win. You understand that, right, Matt? Like, you have to be able to win this event." So that was hard, but also not really. Like, it was sort of like I really wanted to win this one, so I put in the work. Nationals is something really important to me, and national pride is something that is huge for me. Like, I love New Zealand. I love everything about our country. I love anything I can do to help, get our country a little bit more recognition, because we are the little guy, And so, national pride, like, this tournament is one of the most important tournaments to me. So it is the one that I've probably worked the hardest for. So yeah, like I try to just not take too much of that pressure. I try to say, look, I'm going to put in enough work that I can win if the chips fall well for me. But in the end of the day, the chips will fall how they fall, and I'll make sure, you know, to set myself up so that I can take opportunity of every spot as best I can. But at the end of the day, if I've put in the work and I've tried hard and I've come with everything I've got and I've, you know, thought about all of my spots, end of the day, if I don't win, it's just not meant to be. You know, it's just like if you win, you win, and if you don't, you don't. Like it's, you know, I'm not gonna lose sleep over it. I'm not gonna get stressed out over it. I'm not gonna have that pressure crush me and define me. You know what I mean? So people are gonna put those pressures on you, and it's up to you whether you want to, you know, kind of how you want to approach it. But for me personally, I approach an event with what I want to get out of it. If I really, really want to win, I know that I have to put in the work to really win. And if I'm prepared to put in that work, then I've given myself the best chance, and I have to be happy with that. I'm not gonna put myself in a spot where I'll only be happy with a trophy, or you know, and I won't be happy with myself otherwise. I'll be happy with myself if I prepared really well and I played really good games.
Awesome. Speaking of high stakes and big prizes, the Goliath Gauntlet tournament is happening right now, and you won your opening round match against a very game Yuki Lee Bender, and you actually, as of this recording, it is 8:53 p.m. on 10/26. 983 Media released the latest slate of games, so you versed Michael Hamilton. And let's just do a little recap right here. Matt, you came out with to a fast start. You were on Dash. Michael Hamilton's on his now trademark Icelander deck. It seems like you came out to a fast start, and Hamilton looked to stabilize around 18 life when he was able to get off a red Aether Ice Vein. I believe that was fused with a Insidious Chill on the board. But after that, he started getting aggressive and getting a lot of the tempo back, and the game really seemed to look like it come down to one of your he was at 7, you were at 10, you attacked, he blocks and goes down to 1 while you're at 10, and then he completely stabilizes. More Ice Veins and Insidious Chills. It looks like it took all the cards out, and then Hamilton gets you to 2 and gets you with an Emera's Scalding for the win. While at 1 for several turn cycles.
Yeah, pretty crazy, right? Great game. Really,
that was a crazy game.
Yeah.
Is Icelander a problem?
Icelander is very, very good, especially the way that Hamilton's built it now. And approaching, Dash is a value deck, right? And Icelander's kind of a value deck as well, except for it's kind of getting more value, and it doesn't have to worry about fatiguing itself, and it doesn't have to worry about a few other things. And then it's got these cards like Hypothermia and Channel Lake Frigid that are just one card destroy you. So it can be tough. It can be very, very tough.
There's been a lot of talk about in the opening rounds of the Goliath Gauntlet, there was a lot of conversation about camera angles. And when you talk to some of in my experience, when you talk to some of the competitive players that don't have a huge online experience, you get crappy camera angles sometimes. It just happens. They care about more other things other than how well you can see everything. But there is kind of a stigma around online play and the possibility for cheating and just being, just kind of angle shooting and doing some, mischievous stuff with their decks. Depending on who you talk to, Flesh and Blood is either in a very healthy and safe place when it comes to the rules, or ripe for corruption, which brings us to our next community question.
This one's from David Spencer at Kablamo185 on Twitter. He wonders, Matt, are you aware of the cheating drama in the world of chess right now involving Magnus Carlsen and Hans Niemann? If so, what are your thoughts on, as a pro player, how important do you think it is to preserve competitive integrity in Flesh and Blood's long-term growth and sustainability? And just quickly, for those who aren't aware of this, we've got an article. I'll link it in the YouTube video for those who want to catch up on this.
Yeah, so I'm not completely across the drama. I know that there was some admission of cheating when he was younger, and maybe some online cheating, whatnot. And then there was another player that was just conceding the game whenever he played against him and didn't want to play against somebody that had a name for potentially being a cheater or anything like that, and a whole lot of drama is sparked from there. Am I sort of on the right track on that? I think.
Yeah. Essentially, Neiman is a 19-year-old like super prodigy, but
super prodigy, yeah.
Carlsen doesn't feel like he should have lost any game at all. But the accusations go into all sorts of like AI devices and kind of chess algorithms and things of that nature that make, like, these guys play online chess on like just, it's like, 8-bit at this point, and they just moving the chess pieces around. So really susceptible, kind of in the same vein as like the poker, that poker scandal that happened just recently, where the girl went all in, probably shouldn't have. It was like the wrong call, but she ended up winning anyways. But they feel like she might have had a tell. Or something a little more scandalous happening there, but it does bring it brings to the greater point. I talked about the camera angles before, but preserving the competitive integrity. It seems like Flesh and Blood has been a little protected there. Are we in a good spot?
Yes and no. I think we have a fantastic community. So, that sort of stuff, if you're caught cheating in this game, like, you're going to be out. Like, there's no way that our community will put up with that nonsense. Like, you're just going to be gone forever, surely. And I think that, James and the LSS team just have so much respect for card game and card game integrity and stuff like that. I just can't imagine they'll ever let anything stand. Like, so I think that I think the cost to cheating is pretty high in this game, and this game is so community focused that it's kind of, why would you? Like, you would lose so much. But then also just the fact that I guess I guess when you put up big prize money for things, that stuff is going to come. We are going to have, we are going to have to deal with that. There are going to be people that try to take advantage. And as a pro player, that's super scary for me and us as our team and stuff like that. We always have to be super diligent and looking out for things and worried about, anything that people can do. And, it can be the highest profile people as well. Like when I played Magic, a huge Channel Fireball rating, very popular player cheated against me in a Grand Prix, and he got caught and he got banned. And that actually happened to me in a game of Magic. And ever since then, my eyes have been a lot more open to it. That things like that can happen, and people that are super high profile can and will take advantage. I think as a community, we just need to remain vigilant on that, and we just have to make sure that the consequences are high, but also that we need to be a little bit careful as well, to not witch hunt and to not to not just defame people because we think they might have done something dodgy. I think a lot of that's happening, and that could potentially be the case in this chess situation. That could potentially be the case in the poker situation as well, is that these people may not have done anything wrong, and this witch hunt mentality of people banding together and sort of making these accusations without any proof, it can really, really ruin people. And I've experienced it as well. And I think, all my teammates have experienced it. Everybody's experienced it on Twitch with these streaming games, is that the Twitch chat can think a certain thing, and because they can't hear audio or whatever, a whole lot of people jump to conclusions, get it completely wrong, and then just like massively defame the people that are playing, even though they've completely missed a certain context to it or something like that. And that seems to be happening more and more. And everybody, I think, that has been playing a lot of stream matches in Fab will tell you they've been, a victim of that witch hunt stuff as well, for doing absolutely nothing wrong at all. So I think as a community, we need to be really, really careful about that and make sure that we don't ruin ourselves that way by just making it really uncomfortable and horrible for people that are being played in a game, because we are all humans. We do all make mistakes. There is going to be things that look off or go wrong or anything like that. And I think it's really important that we catch it and we do be harsh if we're if we're sure there's something wrong and there's avid proof there, and we make sure that nobody ever gets away with it. But at the same time, we give people the benefit of the doubt and make sure that we're not just hunting them, when we don't have all of the pieces and perfect proof to be certain as well.
I think that's pretty well summed up, like the whole idea of innocent until proven guilty, but like holding people accountable.
Yeah, exactly.
You Premier Card Grading launched in November of 2021 with great fanfare in the Fab community, and a partnership with Channel Fireball, who's now owned by TCG Player, who's now owned by eBay. So you work with eBay now. Clark Jansen asks, give us the backstory with how PCG came to be, and is it meant for, like, was Flesh and Blood the inspiration, or were you kind of already working on this?
Yeah, so a couple of things there. I'll quickly clean up that PCG USA is not owned by eBay.
Okay.
So we actually didn't want PCG to go to eBay. We didn't want that contract to go across, and they weren't. Or TCG Player originally, all of the stuff was going on in the background.
Yeah, it's a big mess right now.
We all decided that it was best that PCG not go with the other pieces. So PCG is now PCG USA is now licensed to PCG USA. So it's not part of Channel Fireball anymore. It's not owned by eBay. It's not owned by TCG Player or anything like that. We broke off. So and I think that's a much better direction for what we're trying to do. From our point of view, we were a small New Zealand startup, and it was really important that we maintained a lot of control. We work with each of the offices all around the world constantly, down to every little thing. We even work with each of the individual staff members. We work with everything. We're a very, very hands-on head office here in New Zealand. So, we didn't want to kind of cross over to the corporate structure there and sort of, kind of work in with a big company where we would have less control. And we didn't think that was a good kind of angle towards our future goals for PCG and how we kind of want to run things. It's just so important to us that we are really in a small company way invested in the communities that we serve, and that we get absolute consistency, or as strive for as much consistency between all of the offices as possible. So that all happened. Channel Fireball and stuff got sold off. PCG broke off. And then the other thing, we did actually launch prior to November last year. November last year was when we launched in the US. PCG New Zealand actually launched, maybe 6 months-ish before that. But we were working with Channel Fireball a lot before that. So, everything's been in the background. Works have been in the background in PCG for a few years now. We teed up with Channel Fireball, I think, early 2021 or late 2020 maybe. And then, got that contract and everything all signed up I think around about the time that we launched in New Zealand, or a little before then, and then we launched in America later on in the year. It's been really cool. We've had massive community support. People have banded behind us. People like that we are kind of bringing a modern approach to grading and a community approach to grading, and that we want to work within the communities of each of the card games that we serve, and really bring more to those card games specific to them, rather than just add on small card games as random little add-ons. Obviously, Pokemon is our number one focus because that's our biggest market, and those are the cards that we grade the most of. But we're not a Pokemon grading company that just throws the other companies on. So we absolutely focus on each of the small games as well, and we make things specific to them. Like for Yu-Gi-Oh, we've designed a Yu-Gi-Oh specific case, and for Fab, we're in the middle of designing the Fab slab, which is a specific case for people wanting to play with their equipment. It's a much smaller slab for playing with, where the label's on the back. I guess a lot of our standards and approach and everything has been a bit more modern, transparent, and sort of in a way that everybody can understand. We're not just kind of grading company that's been here for 20 years or 30 years or whatever it is, and just slaps on extra services, and then people have to wait and all the rest of it, and we send things out or whatever. We want to, our goal and our vision was to be involved in this. What I love, and what my business partner and everybody that works for PCG, we are all very heavily emotionally invested in the community and in the card games themselves, and revolve our life around them. So we want to be a positive force in them.
Now, I'm not a collector myself. I have a bunch of cold foils in sleeves. I'm a player first, right? But I got cards all over the place. So from an outsider, you had Beckett and you had PSA. I don't know if there was others before then, but it seems like stepping into this market is a huge undertaking, given how big. You talked about those companies that they're huge and they've been doing this for decades. How do you get out of that shadow?
There are a lot of other grading companies, but certainly Beckett and PSA are kind of the big two. They're kind of first and second for TCGs at least. We had to come to this with the plan that we're not just going to be a small little hole in the box business. We knew that we had to take on these hundreds of $1 million businesses or whatever they are, and we really had to do things properly. But we also were completely aware of the things that they'd gotten lazy at, and the things that they were had let fall off, and that they didn't seem as dedicated to improving a whole range of things. And it seemed that they've kind of been corporatized to the point where they just kind of want to turn money. So for us, we came at this and we were like, well, look at this. The backlogs that these companies haven't systemized well enough to fix are X number of months, which is, just in our opinion, unacceptable. All of these cases and labels and stuff, these are supposed to show off incredible pieces of art, like people's, favorite collectibles or whatever. These are supposed to make these things that are really, really special to people, amazing display pieces that are going to be preserved forever. But, these companies haven't updated their labels in many, many years, and they're just not that fussed about that. They're not that fussed about turnaround time. They're not that fussed about consistency of grading as well. So it's kind of all going up all over the place, and they're not that focused about the communities, each individualized country and community and everything like that, and the individual card games. So there was a huge hole there. None of these companies have offices all over the world. So when we came to this, we were like, well, I think we can improve on all of these things. I think we can have offices local to each community all around the world, and approach this in a way to serve each community individually, because nobody in the rest of the world really just wants to send their cards to America and wait 8 months to 8 months plus to get them back. And it's all different. These American companies don't know about their community and what's important to them and their collection and everything like that. So our aim was to partner with local businesses that really do have community at heart and their community at heart, and we were able to kind of improve every aspect that we could think of the service and of grading as a whole, and then integrate that with their community and with their community approach, and then take that same strategy with each of these card games and those wider outer communities as well.
You mentioned partnerships with some of these local communities. In July, I apologize if my research was wrong. I believe the November 2021 date came from the announcement with Channel Fireball. In July, you announced a partnership with LSS to provide highly graded card prizes at Flesh and Blood premier events, the gold foils, etc. That seems to be a big hit. Are there more similar plans for PCG in the near future here?
Yeah, so that partnership was absolutely amazing for us and for LSS as well, I believe. So the whole idea behind it, we went to LSS and because something I've seen for years, there are people that win these coveted prizes, these high value, excellent prizes that they've had to, slog through a massive tournament or whatever to win. And then, some of these prizes just have these big chips and dents and print lines and stuff through them, so none of the big collectors want them. And there were things like gold foil tunic that was to the point it was not going to get a good grade, and that sat on the marketplace for ages. And somebody that had won this incredible prize just wasn't able to turn that into to kind of capitalize on that because of this. And this is a problem, right? And it seemed to be a specific problem for LSS with these prize cards as well, more and more. And that was a problem that I was certain that we could help solve. So we approached LSS and we said, look, this is an issue. A lot of these prize cards are damaged. They've been packaged this way. Is there a way that we can come in and be a checkpoint for you? We can have a look at the way that it's done, the way the Card Monday is packaging and sending these and stuff, and we can provide feedback to them. We can provide feedback to you, and we can look at these cards and make sure only the ones that kind of pass a good quality checkpoint are actually sent out. James is very progressive, and his absolute heart and soul was that he wants people that work hard and achieve these high things to get these incredible trophies, and them to hold value and to be worth something. So he was absolutely behind the idea. So we came in and we came in effectively as a checkpoint process for them, because they want to focus on designing the game, right? They want to focus on designing the game and the organized play and everything around there. They're not experts on card condition and everything like that. They rely on Card Monday to just print them things and send them to them. So that's where PCG, with our expertise, could really come in on the checkpoint process, take these batches of cards that Card Monday are sending, analyze them, provide detailed reports to LSS, and provide just some examples of why we think the corners are always bad, why we think this and why we think that, and how to improve it and everything like that. And then we can also grade them and make sure they're only giving out the absolute best ones. And James was very, very into that and happy to just shred all of the ones that aren't going to be that aren't going to be fantastic and just keep printing more and make sure. And it has been a bit of a trying process. We've rejected entire print runs of things, LSS have had to go and pay to do a whole new print runs, and they've had to go to Card Monday with our reports and say this is this and this is what needs to be changed and everything like that. But I sat down and I met with executives or management from Cardamande at the Pro Tour, and I talked to them about a lot of the process and kind of the things. And then the cards that they produced, which I can't talk too much about because it hasn't been released yet, but the next print run that they did of those cards was absolutely beautiful. Like, the process has improved so much. We're not going to see that straight away, because a lot of the cards that even that we've graded and made sure are 9+ and stuff that are going out there were printed 1 or 2 or whatever years ago, and we're starting to get more things now for the future that are printed new. But I truly believe that we have really helped to improve that process massively, and there's something that's going to be coming out soon that's going to kind of showcase that a little bit more, that are cards that Cardamande have printed with some advice from us, and that have been checkpointed from us as well, and that have actually been slabbed by us too, and that are just stunning.
Oh man, that is juicy. You can't give us a little tidbit on what that might be.
I just gave you a little tidbit.
That's good. I was excited. Like, he knows secrets. This is great.
I try to give away as much as I can, but I gotta be careful. Obviously I've signed NDAs with LSS, and
sure.
I have to be super careful when I'm speaking publicly on what I can share. I'm naturally a very transparent person. I love to share everything. I'm not great with secrets, but I do have to respect NDAs.
Well, we're certainly grateful for the little.
Totally fair.
Yeah, we're certainly grateful for the little tidbit we did just get. You mentioned in previous interviews that you don't handle the cards personally so much as run the company, but we have the obligatory condition on the community question coming from Greg Darth Prentice on Twitter. Asks, what's the best and worst condition card you've seen, or I guess in this case heard of, come through PCG?
Yeah. So I don't actually do any of the grading for say. I know our grading standards really well, and I can certainly grade cards. And I train. I do train some staff and some managers on grading, and some at the international offices and whatnot with my visits. But in terms of the actual card grading, they're done by people that are their full profession, their full thing is grading cards, and they have massive expertise and have been run through our very rigorous training processes and such. But I do see a lot of cards from time to time. People show me stuff. We've got all of these platforms and stuff which all of the officers are constantly posting to. Whenever anything comes up, I like to have my eyes across as many things as possible. So I am seeing some of the most terrible cards that come through, some of the stunning cards that come through. I like reports on card stock and everything like that, and what things are grading better and what sort of print runs are going good and stuff. And I like to be really across that because that's really important for us helping the industry as a whole to improve. I think the worst thing I've ever seen is somebody got a Kano, I heard there was a little bit of a backstory. He was a fan of this garbage Lord Kano, which is a sort of meme YouTube channel thing that a content creator puts out, and he'd got this Kano and he'd roughed it up. He'd obviously dinged up all of the corners and the edges and stuff, and then drawn on it as well with Vivid and whatnot, and just tried to make it as horrible as possible to try to get the worst grade possible. So I saw that. Unfortunately, we had to reject that one. We do have to be, we're more than happy if people want to rough up their cards and send in and have low grades. That's fine, and we'll grade them, and that they can have low grades, and that's a bit of fun for people and stuff. But we do have to tread that line carefully. Once somebody draws on a card with Vivid, once there's Vivid marking and people have purposely altered cards, we have to be so careful, because Vivids can hide up whitening on corners and edges and stuff like that. Certain things that you do to a card can and hide actual damage, and we can't risk missing that. So, there are people that will take a vivid to the corner of a card and ever so slightly try to vivid out the whitening, so that they won't get graded as harsh on corners. We will always pick that up. Our tools and you're not going to be able to get one over on us by that. It also means that the policies around that mean that if people rough their cards up and alter them that way, they may get rejected as well, if they, fall over that line. So I would say if you really want to rough your cards up, like scratch them rather than drawing on them, and we're happy to go with the fun. If it's really important for you to have your garbage Kano, graded a 1 on corners and edges and surface, then we're absolutely happy to help you with that.
Wizards of the Coast has kind of developed over the years the means to prevent counterfeiting. How prevalent is counterfeiting right now in Flesh and Blood? Have you received gradable cards that you've found to be counterfeit, and is that number increasing?
I wouldn't say it's increasing. I would say it's there. We have been submitted counterfeit cards. We have had to reject cards and tell people that cards were fake. That has really upset them. That has happened. We document it really well, and we share all of that information with LSS as well. So their fingers very much on the pulse there as well. They know what's going on. They know what's coming through. It is coming through, and the fakes are good but not great. You know what I mean? Like, we are going to pick them up. I don't think we're likely to miss fakes, which is great. Fakes haven't gotten that good yet, but it's certainly a concern. That there are people trying with Fab. There are things that are coming through here and there. It's something we need to be concerned about as a community, and something that LSS need to be concerned about, and something that we as graders need to be concerned about. And we just got to make sure that we're doing kind of everything that we can over and above to ensure as much of it shut down, or to make it too hard for them to progress it to the point where we wouldn't catch it.
We're rounding the bases here. We're coming back to Flesh and Blood. Dash appears to be the most well positioned she's been since Crucible, and maybe more so now with all the weapons at her disposal. There are control variants and super aggressive versions and hybrids that seem to be often overlooked but consistently showing up in top 8s. Tell me why Dash deserves more of the spotlight than she might have currently.
I love Dash. I'm gonna lose some fans here. If I'm completely honest with you, I don't think Dash is in a great position.
All right.
I'm sorry. I'm really
Just
sorry.
trying to tee that up. No, all right.
Dash is always there, and she's often overlooked. And she's always got potential, and there are pockets of the metagame, and developments of metagame where she can come in and attack it quite well. And so I do think, Dash is here to stay. There's definitely going to be metagames where she sneaks in and can make a lot of noise. But right now, in the current metagame, I don't think Dash is in a particularly amazing spot. Just that the Phi decks are so good and so consistent. The thing is with Dash is it preys on decks being a little bit inconsistent, and it outvalues decks that are a little inconsistent, but decks have gotten very, very good. The Phi deck is just the most ridiculously consistent aggro deck. Icelander is a bit of a nightmare because of cards like Channel Lake Frigid and Hyperthermia that just really turn off the strategy that you need to employ to kind of kind of push them under. And Oldham has gotten way more aggressive and better tools and stuff that it's no longer a cakewalk for Dash. It used to be very easy to beat Oldham decks that were trying to control the game because you were just such a good value deck, and they can sit around and dirtle while you get out items, and then you just build, this Exodia that's really hard to control and hard to keep down, and they just can't outvalue it at any point. So when the metagame's more like that, Dash really shines. When the metagame's how it is at the moment, not so much. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So, is there is the meta, like going into Worlds? Is it Fi, Icelander, Oldham, or is there room here for others, like more than just like one? I know Briar's kind of sneaking in there, but it does seem like there's a big bad in Icelander, Oldham and Fi. But is that it? Or are you expecting kind of a wider field coming in?
Yes and no, both ends of the spectrum, to be honest. I think that is kind of it at the moment for like the top things, just because those decks are so good and so consistent. Icelander is a house. That deck is so good. And that deck makes it really, really hard for other decks. That's kind of become the new Prism, the new Gatekeeper. Like, it makes it really hard for Briar to be a deck. Because you're just so good at shutting them down. Like, a good Icelander player should beat a good Briar player probably 90% of the time. Like, I do believe, somebody that's not experienced in the matchup, you can smash them with Briar, but somebody that is experienced and knows what their role is and knows how to navigate the matchup versus Briar with Icelander, I think they will win 90% of the time. And it's really hard to play a deck that has a 10% against, one of the best decks, if not the best deck in the format right now. And I do think that Icelander can do the same sort of thing to a few other decks as well. It holds Dash down in a similar sort of way, in that its disruption is just so hard for them, and that a good Icelander player can really navigate that disruption well and just make it really hard. So I think there is, at the moment, those are kind of the main three decks, and there's not as much room for other things to come in. But at the same time, we got a World Championships coming up. There's got to be more out there, and if there is, I have faith that somebody's going to find it. And so I do think, having a meta game like this where it's so defined by probably two decks, like Fi and Icelander really define this meta game. So having a meta game that's really defined by two decks is always ripe for picking. And if you can find, a hole, that a massive percentage of the field is going to be on that strategy. So if you can find a hole to that strategy in something out there, then you're going to be able to come along and just decimate. So I do expect that will likely happen as well.
Excellent. My hot take, I think I said it last week or the week before, was that the one who innovates is going to win Worlds. Whatever, someone's going to break it open. If they can break it, that's it. Like you said. Yeah. All right. As one of the elder statesmen of the game, you've seen the game evolve from its days to in Welcome to Wraith and even Welcome Deck Challenge, as you mentioned, on the cusp of Worlds. 7 sets in, talents galore, and soon the release of Dynasty. How has the game changed for you over this time, and is it where you want it to be mechanically as a game system? If not, what is something that you would change given the chance?
Yeah, so it's been really cool. It's been really interesting watching this game develop, because the game that I fell in love with Welcome Deck and then Welcome to Wraith, it was amazing. Like, everything about it just seemed to solve every problem that I'd found in previous card games, and so many of the games were just really intense and came down to the wire and came down to all of these, very minor decision points, and it was a fantastic game to play. Every game I lost, I loved. And every game I won, I did as well. It was just incredible. And then, it carried on. This was such an amazing game through Arcane Rising, through Crucible. And then Monarch came. And Monarch came out, and the game all of a sudden drastically changed, and the whole way that the game played and stuff was different, and I had to really adapt and change and rethink my whole philosophy around how I play this game, and how the math works and everything like that. And it got to a point where things were really, really powerful, and it was a little bit less fun, and I started to get worried. I was like, they've taken a different direction. Hopefully they're just trying things and they're seeing how far they can push it, and hopefully we'll get back to what I loved. And if not, maybe it's just not perfectly designed for me. There's lots of different people that love to play in all sorts of different ways, and maybe this just doesn't, the way the game plays now, maybe it just doesn't match up perfectly to what I want. And then Tails came out, and it seemed like they were kind of in between. Yeah, like there was a lot of better things, and we're kind of going back towards that direction, but maybe not. And then Everfest came out, and it seemed like again they were trying to pull things and push and see where they could go and see how hard they could push things the other way, and what changes they can make. And ultimately through Chain and Prism and Starvo, and the cards that came through this Monarch to Everfest season, ultimately I think, and even the way Briar was originally designed and stuff, I ultimately think that they realized that, hey, maybe this wasn't quite the direction. And I remember talking to the lead developer, Chris Guerin, and him saying, look, we had to try to push things out, we had to try different things, but I'm not perfectly happy with where we've gotten to, and I'm not happy with where things are, and I'm gonna make some changes and take all of the learnings from all of these sets as we go into designing the next sets, which I guess now we know are Uprising and Dynasty, and he's gonna take all of these learnings, and I think we've learned so much, and I think we're gonna develop a really, really good product and a good metagame. And it's all going to work so much better going into there. And I sort of trusted him and sort of said, all right, well, this is one of the most amazing minds, far beyond myself, amazing minds that I've ever met in card games. Chris Guerin, and I absolutely trust him to be able to develop something incredible. I think he's done it. I think their team has actually done that. As what we've experienced now in Uprising, how that shifted the gameplay back. I think we're back in that Welkin Wraith, Arcane Crucible, realm, but we've done it even better this time. I think the metagame is extremely healthy where it is at the moment, and the way the game, it's back to that original sort of way to play the game of kind of, these decision trees, and every decision matters. And everything like that, and there's so many things that you have to take into consideration. I think the game's in a really, really good place, and I think the way these heroes have been designed and how they operate and their place in the metagame, there's gonna need to be little bits of bans and restrictions and stuff to kind of keep things perfectly in check, but I think this game is at the best point it's ever been.
What card would you ban if you had to ban one?
What card would I ban right now?
Yeah.
Oh.
You said there might be some. They might need it. Where does your head go when that comes? Is it Channel Lake Frigid, that frozen dumpster fire of a card? I'm a 5 player. I can't get around it. I should, but.
I think you could ban Channel Lake and make it positive, but then you would have to ban something from the aggro, just like belittle or something with it.
Fully support that as well.
I think you would have to find a balance. You could not just ban Channel Lake right now; it would ruin everything. Mm-hmm. So I think that there are, if their development team, like an R&D team, kind of tested it and figured out the metagame after those bans, there are definitely bans there that you could make. It's so impossible for me. Who am I to just say, yeah, they should ban this and this? There's too many trees. There's too many. There's too many flow-on effects. There's the butterfly butterfly effect here, right? So, it's up to them to figure out what's best for them, and it's up to them to test and put in the work and figure out what happens when you ban things and what other things you have to also ban or restrict or whatever to meet that balance. I just don't have the expertise to kind of say what that balance would be.
That's fair. That's all right. You are an expert in this game, you know. Last one. All right. This one is just, it's open-ended. What is something people don't know about you that you would like them to know? Could be anything. This is where our guests usually talk about if there's other games they like, if there's a movie that they saw, if there's just something about your personality or hobby that you'd like to let the world know. Now's your chance.
I mean, I'm a bit of an open book. I think anybody that knows me personally and knows me well kind of would probably say they know me really, really well, because I kind of, I wear my heart on my sleeve. I put everything on the table. You know what I mean? I am sort of, I'm not. Yeah, I'm kind of, I just am who I am. Take me as you will. I'm not afraid, I guess. I don't think there's anything particularly that I want the whole world to know about me, other than I strive to be a good person. I guess is kind of the, I guess that's what I want anybody that knows me or thinks about me or the actions that I take or the things that I do to know is that behind all of those actions, the reasons for all of that is ultimately I want to be a positive force. I want to be a positive force in this community, in this, in this environment, in this world, and in my relationships, and everything. My absolute strive is to just be positive, just to be a positive force.
That's a solid message. I feel positive as shit right now. This has been amazing. All right, we did it. We got through. That's why I'm pumped. This was incredible. Now is your chance to plug your stuff. Give us your socials. Give us your links. Anything and everything that you're running and want to get out there in the world. Now's your shot.
Okay, thank you. As people know, I'm co-founder of Premier Card Grading. That is one of my biggest focuses at the moment. That is something that I'm really passionately building, and that I really want to do good in the industry as a whole. I'm not massively into social media as much as some people. I try to limit myself a little bit. I am on Facebook. That's usually the easiest way to chat with me. I have been getting more into Twitter as Flake and Tarek keep pushing me to get a little bit more Twitter. But yeah, it's kind of at the point where I'm on Twitter maybe three or four times a week for like half an hour, and that's as much as I really want to stretch it. So I'm not going to be massively active on Twitter, I don't really do anything beyond there. I try to try to keep it to kind of one main social media channel, because I don't want to be just fully immersed in that stuff the whole time, and I want to have a healthy life balance. I already work a lot. I run multiple companies, so I am full on in my everyday life, and I want to be active with my partner and my relationship as well, and I want to start a family one day, and I want a whole lot of other things out of life as well. So I try to find a balance.
Makes me want to turn off Twitter. Just
sorry, Elon Musk.
It's awesome. Excellent. So thank you very much for coming on, Adam. The train is not stopping rolling coming into November here, as big as October was with Mr. Rogers here as the culmination of a huge October. November is huge as well. Next week we have Matt DeMarco and Brian Gottlieb, casters for the World Championship, coming on together to get us ready for Worlds from the casters' perspective. The week after that, we have Ethan Van Sant coming on I will say that is the week after Worlds, and we are notorious for hounding the winners of the big tournaments. So I will find you, and you will be on here that week, come hell or high water. Whoever you are, if it's one of you two, it makes my life a lot easier because at least I know how to reach you. So I'm rooting for Adam, Matt Rogers. But Ethan Van Sant will be on. That'll be released, scheduled for the 10th. He's got the Clash format and the tournament there that he'll be co-casting with Chris Bewley. The week after that, we have the very unique Fino Black is coming on. The week of the 17th, everyone loves Fino. He's local to me, and he's finally coming onto the program. And we're rounding out November with Max Thomas, the guild master himself from the Fighters Guild, longtime friend of everyone in the community. And he'll finally get some time in the sun here with the combat chain. And I will add that I am working to see if we can't get the gentleman from Fabrica onto the channel. They are obviously they're in Ukraine, which obviously is a unique situation out there, but I am working with them. They don't make a ton of appearances for obvious reasons, but we're going to see what we can do. So looking forward to that, and we'll give updates as those come around. You can find us on YouTube. If you search for the Combat Chain Podcast, you can find us there. If you feel you want to support us directly, you can go to our Patreon at the Combat Chain. You can find us on Twitter at the Combat Chain. You can find myself at Pat Smashgood, and you can find Adam at Fomtoolery TCG. Now, Matt Rogers, we have one more little piece of business to close out this podcast. We ask every guest to participate in our outro. And what we do is I say until next week. And then in unison, all of us go, we're closing the combat chain. Is that something that I can get you to participate in?
Yep, I'm sure I can add to that. Can I actually just do one last shout out as well?
Absolutely. The floor is yours.
One last little plug. So Fab with Matt on Channel Fireball, we have a spoiler. So we've got a spoiler for Dynasty. It's going live on Tuesday, November 1st EDT. You'll be able to find that at Channel Fireball under the articles Flesh and Blood section. We'll be putting that up. I'll also chuck it up on the fan page as well when it goes live. Please tune in for that one. We had a lot of fun doing it.
I'm going to say until next week, and we're all in unison. We're closing the combat chain. All right. Thank you again, Matt Rogers, for coming on to the podcast. It was a real pleasure. This interview was fantastic. I appreciate your time. We're huge fans here, and thank you so much. Honestly, thanks to you guys for inviting me on as well. You guys do amazing work in the community. Please keep doing it. You're a very organized and consistent podcast. Just honestly, pleasure's all mine. Thank you so much. All right. That'll do it for us this week. And thank you so much. Until next week, we're closing the combat chain.
Oh my God.
There it is. Oh, it's the best one yet. Oh, thank you so much. That's perfect. Matt. Perfect.